Hello everyone, I'm Sarah Salmon, and today I have with me two healers, Pip and Lucy Wells. And they're not just any old kind of healer, but they're plant spirit healers, and they've recently written a fantastic book called Touched by Nature, Plant Spirit Medicine Journeys, which is well worth reading. So we're going to take some time to explore what plant spirit medicine is and how it works, and I'm sure an awful lot more besides. Pip and Lucy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I start by asking you, what is plant spirit medicine? Because a lot of people listening in won't have a clue what's meant by those words.
Okay. Plant spirit medicine, well, in a nutshell, you could say it's a medicine being something that helps. It's a healing or helpful thing. It's not just a physical thing. I think the word medicine really is more like how the Native Americans talk about medicine. It's an innate goodness in something and a certain quality.
Yes, whereas a lot of, in the Western world, we tend to think of it an awful lot as something nasty.
Yeah, or a drug that's just there to get rid of a problem, but there's something deeper than that in the way that we use the word medicine. And also then plants, well, it's about plants, and that's all plants. That's not just what people might think of as like medicinal herbs in herbal medicine, but that's trees and fungi and lichen, moss and seaweed and tiny little plants and great big huge ones and everything you can think of in the plant kingdom. And then the word spirit is a kind of double use there, because it refers to the spirit of the plant or the energy of the plant, but it also refers to the fact that the medicine for us is for our spirit.
Right. Yes. So it's both spirits then.
Yeah.
And this obviously, it's an animistic approach, isn't it? Because we're talking about plants as beings. So maybe you could talk a little bit about plant consciousness and the intelligence of plants and what we mean by that.
Well, we're taking we're starting from the premise that everything has life.
Yeah.
That everything is animate. And when we do our courses together, actually we explore these words, what we mean by spirit, what we mean by medicine. And so if we look into what we mean by spirit, we can kind of hone it down and make sure we're not having an assumption about that word. We can hone it down to something that's kind of beyond the visible, beyond the tangible. So in that respect, we're starting from this premise that there's a whole unseen world that we can't kind of pin down.
Yeah.
And if that's what you call animist, then yes, I'm all for it.
Well, can we talk a little bit about plant consciousness before we go on and talk about anything further? What do we mean by plant consciousness and the intelligence of plants?
Okay, I'm going to start with that and say that for us it's quite simple in a way. Like we're people, the people that are listening are people. We've got our physical bodies, we've got what we might call a spirit or a soul, and we think of plants that are also alive and have their physical bodies, but also have what we're going to call a spirit or soul, and there's a way that we can communicate with them from that in that place. So
it's consciousness meeting consciousness.
Yeah, although it depends what we mean by consciousness.
Yeah, so I'm always really interested to explore our common use of language to make sure that we are understanding the same thing. So when we talk about consciousness, are we talking about awareness? Are we talking about the capacity to reflect on our awareness and our conscious being? Seems to me quite uniquely a human attribute. So when we're talking about plant consciousness, and it's really good to investigate it, it's good to to be thorough, it's, to my mind, it's talking about the awareness that plants have as conscious beings, that they are also alive in a very conscious way. They're not accidental ornaments or other things that grow. They're part of the whole web of creation, as we are.
Yeah.
In our medicine, we're looking to make those links.
Yeah. When we say all is one, and you hear this phrase bandied around an awful lot, don't you?
Yeah.
We're not just talking about one big human family. We are talking about every living being being sentient. So plants, insects, trees, rocks, crystals,
Waters.
Or in fact, everything that exists
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
we were talking about this recently, Lucy and I, but there's an old word from the indigenous traditions in this land, which is weird. The word weird, W-Y-R-D.
Yes.
So the web of weird, which is, so this, these fibers somehow that connect everything.
Yeah.
They connect us, and they, with everything around us, and the plants are part of that, very much shining beings. I mean, often it might only be quite small plants, but their spirits can be absolutely enormous.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. When you meet them.
That's a lovely visual, actually. So you know, there's these shining threads that connect everything to everything else, and we can follow those threads. I take it we can follow those threads, and that's how we make contact with another consciousness.
Yeah, or maybe they're following the threads to us. Most of the time we're just asleep, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean,
we're stuck in this, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Part of the whole thing is that the plants know about us in a certain way that we don't know about ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which involves a kind of shift of mental priority or something, you know, introduction of humility.
Yes. That reminds me very strongly of somebody that I've spoken to who works with plants, talked about the plants are our elders, and that was kind of like one of those big moments for me, because we do think about ourselves as being very clever and being, you know, the masters of the planet and things like that, but the reality is we're newcomers, aren't we? When we talk about plants and trees and rocks and things like that, they hold the wisdom of the ages within them.
Yeah, and the reality is we've been making quite a mess of it.
Yes. Yes, that's not news, is it? Can I just ask both of you to give us, you're both healers, can you give us just a very quick background about the type of healing you do? And then can we begin to talk about the difference between the kind of healing you do and allopathic healing, and then go on to maybe talk about your training and how you got into plant spirit medicine?
Okay, so we're here to talk about plant spirit medicine. So the type of healing that is a completely holistic it's a completely holistic form of medicine. Holistic in the sense that it doesn't treat symptoms. It doesn't treat, well, we'll just treat your foot or your lung or your ear or your eye. It's a whole being that's looked at. And actually it's a very deep, plant spirit medicine is a very deep form of healing that really looks at the whole being, our emotional reactions and relationships with life, actually there are ways that we can try to see what the spirit of a person is crying out for. That's what we're looking for. So, and why emotions come into that is that's actually it's very difficult to really talk about spirit because it's something that's outside of the realm of the mind of words. But the way that we experience our spiritual experiences, or the way that we experience that world, is very often through feelings.
Yeah.
They're not just emotional feelings, but they're very allied to emotions. So the healing that we do, we've got a whole paradigm that we work within where we're looking for, that, like I say, that there's like little flags, the symptoms that we all have when we're ill, you know, like I've got a bit of a bad back at the moment, for example. You could say that's a symptom. It's a physical symptom.
Yeah.
But from then, can I merge this with the allopathic question? Or so from an allopathic point of view, well, or from a physical point of view, you could say, oh, probably I've slightly put something out in one of my ligaments or tendons, and you know there's a bit of inflammation and maybe a little bit of strain on the, hopefully not too much on the spinal cord.
Yeah.
And you know, if I went to the doctor, actually they give me anti-inflammatory drugs, painkillers, and that kind of be it really. That's the current state of allopathic medicine. So allopathic medicine, the doctor medicine, is very much focused on a symptom and of getting rid of or controlling the symptom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the healing that we do, the plant spirit medicine, is really somehow we see all these symptoms, any symptoms that a person has, as being little flags saying, look, there's something not right.
Yeah.
And so we listen to those, but we also look very closely at other things, and we're really listening to a person's voice and to the whole story of their life to try to hear those. They can be quite subtle, the cries of the spirit, so that we can match that with the plants that we've got relationships with, that we'll be able to help.
So people might come to us with a specific symptom. You know, they might have had a terrible chest that nothing can shift. Or they might come because they don't quite know why, but they're not fully okay with their life.
Yeah.
So from serious pathological illness through to a kind of slight feeling that things are amiss.
Yes.
It's a huge spectrum, but we're treating all of those people that come with the same large holistic response. So we're listening to the whole thing. We're listening to the story of their life. We're listening to the things that happened, that they've been through, and their way of responding to the things that have happened.
Yeah.
Two people that have had, for example, a marriage breakup will deal with it really differently.
Yeah.
Or two people that have got the same thing that's been given a label of a particular disease by the doctor. Our approach to those will be completely different, unique to the individual, not to do with the disease they've got. We don't actually treat disease at all, whether you could a label of disease, we treat people, and very often their diseases get better. Yeah. But what we do is we treat the individual, and we don't use the disease, a name of, a diagnosis of the disease, whether it's a physical one or emotional difficulty or a mental type of disease. We don't use those things as a guide to our treatment.
And neither would we necessarily use the same plant, even if there was a similar condition in two people.
Yeah.
We wouldn't necessarily use the same plant. And so that there's a difference there, that we're not matching into medicine.
And that is hugely different to standard Western medicine, because it's kind of like this disease, this drug, headache pill sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, yes, you have all of nature to choose from, and you bring in whatever is relevant to the individual.
And also you have all of nature to advise you. So it's again a slight shift. That I want to just make that clear. So it's very live medicine.
Yeah.
It's not us sitting in the consulting room kind of looking up what we might use. There's sort of all the living energy presenting itself as useful in this particular case or something else in another case.
So it's a bit like having a load of superheroes standing at your shoulder.
That's exactly where mine are there. I can't describe why, they kind of hang about.
And the whole the whole thing is, we don't use them. They're our friends. We've got a relationship with them. And they've offered that they've got some that they're really happy to help.
Yeah.
So we'll invite them to please come in and give your medicine to somebody. Yeah. You know, so it's not a commodity.
Yeah, it's an exchange.
It's an exchange. That's right.
Yeah, very different energy to it. Yeah. Now, can I ask you to just talk a little about your training and who you trained with, and the sort of lineage that's come through it, just so people have an idea and anyone who's interested can follow it through.
Yeah. So we both trained in plant spirit medicine healing with Elliot Cowan, who was following his own personal thread, which included moved through a study of herbalism and then the study and practice of 5 elements Chinese acupuncture.
Yeah.
And through that practice, and then his calling to a deep shamanic practice with the ritual people, he started to kind of have this feeling that the plant spirits could do the same things as the needles.
Right, yeah.
And so then with his investigation into the way the plant spirits were communicating with him, he discovered that these plant spirits were kind of saying, please, kind of wake up.
Yeah.
Can you use us? We're here, we're watching what's happening. We want to help.
We've been waiting
actually for a few hundred years, or a couple of hundred years, I think he said, since the last kind of active engagement of use. And that's not to say there aren't people that have been keeping their stuff alive, but as a kind of movement that says this is really an active way of relating with the plants and using them to help us humans. So that was his input into it. So he's credited with bringing it in this style.
Yes.
You know,
this iteration of it.
Yeah, and he came up with he called it plant spirit medicine because of the reasons we said at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is a book, by the way. This is a second edition of it, Elliot Cowan, Plant Spirit Medicine. But many people came to his training as a result of reading his book. It's been out since the 80s, the first edition cover.
And with quite kind of interesting little stories about how they get called to the medicine. You know, like a book will fall off a shelf, or you know, you spot it in the little postage size corner of something. It sort of it felt to me when I first heard those words, oh, like this is something I've been waiting to hear about. Yeah.
So it called to you effectively.
Yeah. And then,
after you.
So then Elliot lives in America, Elliot, but occasionally he hadn't done a course actually in the UK for over 10 years, but we managed to get him over here, and we had the first healer training for a long time, which was about 15 years ago, and it was in Wales. And that it runs over like a year and a half, couple of years, and it's usually an intense week at a time.
Yeah.
It really is 8 weeks. With, you know, a gap between each one.
Yeah.
Huge amount of there's like, it's really an interesting course because you've got to learn. It's a very, it's both very simple but not easy to learn.
Yes.
As a paradigm, as a way of working. So there's a huge amount of information, but there's also a lot of shifts, sort of paradigm shifts and energetic shifts in oneself that has to be learned in order to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's the two aspects of the medicine. One is obviously this is there in any medicine actually. One aspect is the healing agent itself.
Yeah.
So, you know, in orthodox allopathic medicine, that's the drugs and surgery. For us, it's the plants, and specifically the energy and spirits of plants. But the other side is what's the diet of any healing system is like, what's the paradigm, the way that you understand disease, the way that you understand what's wrong and therefore how to treat it.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a chunk of the course which is learning to, and that's fairly simple actually, learning to connect with plants and, you know, the deep nature connection is fairly simple. That's what we teach in our weekend introductions.
Yeah.
It's a great enriching thing for anyone. But the actual paradigm to learn the I'm going to say the medical paradigm, you know, for 5-element medicine, which is absolutely incredible, elegant system, it's quite complicated. A lot to get your head around because it's not within our culture.
Well, it is a big paradigm shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to put your head in quite a different space.
Yeah. I think the journey into really becoming a healer, and very specifically to use that word healer rather than practitioner, is itself a journey of self-discovery and self-healing.
Yes.
You know, the old adage.
Yeah.
Heal yourself.
Yeah, heal ourselves. Yeah. So you have to work on yourself before you work on others.
Yeah. So there's the training, and then there's the
being worked on,
and the, you know, ongoing training.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
That's right, because actually the plants train us, but also we every 2 years at minimum we do another 3 days sort of clinical update further training. And we've done a lot more than that, Lucy and I've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Training. It's a very deep medicine. It's quite it's
and
kind of
the more you know, the less you know.
Yes. I get that totally.
So when you're asking these questions, I'm thinking, oh, what do I know?
Yes. And part of what you're trained in is the 5 elements theory, isn't it? Now that's from traditional Chinese medicine. That in itself, I mean, we can have hours-long conversation about that, I know. But can you just give a very brief overview of it for those who are unaware of what 5 elements is?
Yeah. So I think maybe a accessible way to feel into it is to think about the way a year passes, way the seasons express themselves differently. And I know we're in a time of unprecedented climate change, which is a huge concern. And that we do have these strange, you know, heat waves in February and, you know, freezing Maybank holiday weekend.
It's not that strange.
But if you follow the way the plants are expressing themselves through the seasons, you have very different energies from the springtime and everything bursting forth and just budding with amazing greenness, and then all the series of flowers and the colours that are coming through into the kind of heat of summer, where everything's at its full outward expression. And people, when on a hot day, are out there on the streets and it's all going on, and, you know, and then you've got that it turns into that ripening harvest time of the nourishment of the earth and the sustenance and the sweetness, the ripening harvest time, before it kind of turns that corner and starts to fall. Things are getting stripped away, and everything is returning down into the ground and dying back. And there's a lot of loss. Light is going down and becoming more quiet, and all that outward expression is going in. And then it moves into that winter time of deep, quiet, inward, introspective, dark quality. Cold and still and mysterious. Before it moves back out into the So
five very distinct phases there, and each one related to an element.
That's right. So the elements themselves are the forces that bring these seasonal changes.
Yeah.
And they're expressions that run through us as well.
Yeah, they do.
That word phase is a better word. The Chinese word for the element is, you can translate it as phase. I think it's quite useful because it's a little bit different to the, people that think about earth, air, fire and water as elements. It can get a bit confusing. It's a good thing, like Lucy says, just think about it as the seasons and the phases of each one.
Yes.
And movement. So movement is a key aspect of our medicine. The movement of energy through in a smooth cycle, progressing from one thing to the next. Being able to do that is a sign of health.
Yes.
Not being able to do that is where you get stuck, and then these are the kind of causes of dis-ease.
Yeah, right. Wonderful. Okay, so we that's
it then.
Five elements done and dusted. People spend a lifetime.
We've just nailed it in a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. There we go.
Have a cup of tea.
Yes. Can we very quickly, again, because a lot of people won't be familiar with this, talk about how emotions and disease go together? Because again, this is very central to a holistic approach to health and well-being, isn't it? Understanding how our emotions are very much a part of the picture.
Take it, Pip.
Okay, so I think how it relates for us, how it relates well to the way that we think about it in plant spirit medicine, is you can think of emotions as energy.
Yeah.
Emotions have a kind of energy. In fact, I think a lot of people, if you think about it, you can go, oh, yeah, okay, I know what you mean. Like, for example, if there's a big argument going on, or even sometimes you walk in somewhere where there's just been a really big row,
yeah,
there's a kind of vibe in the air. People often feel something not quite right here. Now, if you're a real hardcore scientist, you'll think, well, there's pheromones in the air, that communicate. Doesn't matter. Whatever way you want to think about it, emotions have an energy. We think of them like that.
Yeah.
So how if we're in balance, like Lucy says, if things are going well, things cycle and move through the different energies, and that includes our emotions. So if we're in balance, we'll have, first of all, we'll have an emotional reaction, an emotional feeling about that's appropriate to whatever's happening. And actually, one of the things I love about the 5 element is our view is that humans are always having a feeling, an emotion. We're not emotionless, emotions aren't there to be repressed, suppressed, ignored. They're a natural and very enriching and enlivening part of our lives. So we're always feeling something, and we'll be feeling something appropriate to what's going on at the time if we're in balance, and then what happens with us, I think, in terms of the connection with disease. So imagine there's an emotion rising up.
Yeah.
Let's say it's one of the emotions that our society has labelled negative or unacceptable. Although, to be honest, I think that's almost all of them. Because even happiness, you're not supposed to have too much, are you? Too happy.
Especially not in a classroom.
Yeah, don't really express yourself too much.
Yeah.
So the emotion, the energy is rising up, and often we're so conditioned to push it down. I mean, I've worked with emotions for years for myself, and I notice sometimes, wow, within a split second, we're so well trained, we suppress. Have a feeling, chunk.
Yeah.
So from our perspective, and the perspective thinking about how things, the Chinese approach, like the way to think about it is not, it's Chinese or, it's this culture, it's that culture. It's all about how energy moves. So energy is moving to us along the roads and motorways, the meridians and so on. So energy and emotion rises up, that's an energy moving. If we suppress it, we're actually blocking it.
Yeah.
And that can have the immediate effect of creating a block in the energy circuits of our body. And when energy is blocked, things stagnate and build up and can create illness of all kinds.
Yeah. So it's like a roadblock or something like this coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's where it relates to the 5 element system, is that each of those energies of the phases of the seasons as a kind of emotional correspondence. So the kind of force of spring is a sort of strong, surging energy, which could be a little bit like,
I don't think that's quite right the way you
get out of my face.
You're not really saying.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Let's just assert ourselves.
Well, really. And when that comes up against something, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And equally, all the kind of quiet introspection of cold and contraction. You know, like, whoa, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Will we survive the winter?
Is there going to be enough?
That's a different energy. All the falling down of the leaves and the end of the light and the kind of end of something. That's something that involves us confronting loss that we actually have to deal with.
Yes.
Deal with loss, and how we deal with loss appropriately is to grieve it.
Yeah. So it's understanding that flow of energy. And as you say, emotions are energy in motion. So it is understanding that and following that appropriately.
Yeah. And really,
5 elements give us they give us a structure, a helping hand.
Yeah.
And the plants really understand the 5 element system, because it's all about nature and seasons, and they're our local plants. They live here. They live the elements. They live the seasons.
Yeah, they're elemental beings themselves.
So they know how to help us when we've got stuck. Things have got stuck in us, or blocked in us, or clunky in us. They know how to give us. They know how to live in really difficult circumstances. Plants, you can see them. They pop up everywhere, don't they?
Yeah. Well, it amazes me how they come to really deep winters, you know, and things like this. Yeah, little snowdrop poking its head through the snow.
Yeah, it's so brave.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
And they can split roads. You'll see a dandelion. I saw recently on it was a little road, a country lane near where I live, that had just been tarmacked, and there was a dandelion just already going straight through it, splitting it.
Yeah. Amazing strength. Yeah. Yeah. Outlaw energies. You mention outlaw energies in your book. What are outlaw energies?
Outlaw energies are energies that aren't supposed to be in us. They're outlaws.
Mostly in-laws that are allowed in.
Yeah, they haven't married.
And it just creates trouble.
Yeah. So these are what the healing is aimed at.
Some, but there are a specific brand of energies that have somehow got into the human system that aren't supposed to be there, and they can create a lot of problems. They're not. They're often not dealt with in certain other, particularly in allopathic medicine systems. So it's another place where the plants are really, really good. It's quite simple to clear them out of your system.
But you have to know
but you do need to know that they exist.
In a way, they're not exactly what the healing's about, though. What they're about is blocks to healing getting through.
Yeah.
So, like Lucy says, allopathic medicine, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Actually, any medicine, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if these outlaws are present and they're not dealt with, then nothing's going to really work.
Yeah.
It's like they create a way that they interfere with whatever healing's given, properly getting through. So what we're trained to do, that's part of our long course with all the information and everything, but it's how to sort out those outlaws and blocks to treatment, and then we can give the healing, and the healing can actually do something.
Yeah.
And it seems that maybe in our modern lives, with the kind of, all the pollution that we live with, all the electromagnetic stuff, all the toxic overload, that are kind of, if you like, our etheric protection, our auric, so the protection that's around us beyond our skin is under more strain. So to keep ourselves really intact and in integrity, spiritual integrity, it's under more strain these days than what we're living through.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are we talking about things like wireless energies, things like 5G that are coming in, and
well, all those things are
at that kind of level,
and the increasing levels of addiction and use of, you know, overuse of alcohol and drugs and anything to get people through the often ridiculously high stress that they're living under. Yeah. So they weaken the defences, and then these outlaws can get in.
Yes. Yes.
You see them a lot, don't you?
Yeah. And then, as Pip said, they're not actually the healing themselves. They're an aspect of the healing, but they're, without removing them, they're blocks to healing.
Yeah.
And the healing itself builds up our defense immunity.
Yeah.
You're less likely to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, your book, Touched by Nature, which you have written together, which I think is yay!
Thank you.
How did you come to write? What was the inspiration behind writing that? There's some very, very deep stuff in there, but also lots and lots of wonderful stories.
Yeah, I think we both of us in our, you know, individual healing practices, and because we work together running introductory courses, we've both got a similar passion for people to know that this kind of medicine exists.
Yeah.
Because I know for me and my own healing journey, this medicine's been, you know, far and away the most kind of altering, because it's altered my whole relationship with my life.
Yeah.
So we want people to know about it. So Pip's written quite a few books. We've got others that you can hold up. She's got quite a well-known one called Holistic Anatomy, and she has a more recent one called Deeply Holistic.
Yeah.
And she just said to me, shall we do a book on plant spirit medicine?
Yeah.
So I'm into writing. So
she's a great writer.
So we combined, and then we thought actually the best thing is to throw the net wide and ask for people's stories. Because stories are the way that we can learn without having anything kind of hammered in. It's like you read a story and it moves you in a certain way that nothing else can. So it's a book of stories, as you've probably read. I mean, we've put books in there to kind of point people in certain directions.
Yeah. It makes various points very elegantly when someone is telling their story about, you know, the great change and the healing and the shift that there's been through engaging with this medicine. It makes the point in the nicest possible way, but it really sticks with you because you remember the stories. Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear that's how you received it.
Yeah. We got that because some of them are stories about plants speaking to people as well.
Yeah.
But I tell you, we found a story, didn't we? Before our book launch in Watkins bookshop in London, we had this book, and we were planning it, and we found a story which neither of us remembered going in there.
Yeah.
We were like, oh wow, you know,
wow, that's a great story.
Where did that come from?
Yeah. It was almost like it got magicked into the page.
Yeah.
It was a good process. It was one of those processes that kind of did itself.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's always the sign of something that's needed. The flow comes into it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're just about at time. But can you just very quickly, anybody who wants to, obviously there is the book and it's on Amazon. But how else can people, you mentioned you do training courses, how else can people engage with the work you're doing or maybe learn from you? I'll make sure that I've got your website details and things afterwards, but tell people a little about what else you do.
So we've got a website, a beautiful new website actually, which is Touched by Nature PSN.uk. PSN is called Plant Spirit Medicine Touched by Nature, psn.uk, and that's got everything that we do on it. But also the next exciting event, which is really exciting, because this is a day, we're calling it a celebration of plant spirit medicine, and it's in London, in Regent's College in London on Sunday the 9th of June. This is a little thing about it. We can send you the it's not going to do. Anyway, it's and Elliot's happens to be in town, so we've got a special visit with him. So it's going to be like a really nice chance to meet Elliot. He's in his 70s now. He's really quite an amazing elder, and he's a great speaker. And we're going to there'll be a little bit of ceremony, some talking with Elliot, some talking with us, some interesting, exciting workshops of different ways of connecting with plants, and some time to share stories. So,
and that is on at Herringham Hall in Regent's University, Regent's College. I can show it now. We've got this nice postcard.
Okay, well, I'll make sure the link is up there.
Yeah, the link. From you can see from our website, there's a link. You actually book through the bluedeer.org, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the Blue Deer Centre, is Elliot's project in the States, which is our
umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They're funding the day, so we think it's going to be really great fun, and there'll be quite a few plant spirit medicine healers from the UK will be present as well.
Yeah, and if people wanted to start on their own training journey, contact you, find out.
They can contact us, and we'll put them in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
We do these weekend introductory workshops. So there's one in July in Shropshire.
Yeah.
A very beautiful location, but that's all on the website.
Okay.
So I think we've got one probably in September in the UK as well, and then we're in Berlin in August, and Corfu in Corfu. And we were in Switzerland a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so if you fancy a nice holiday with a bit of plant connection on that it's a beautiful island.
Yeah, sounds wonderful.
Hosting that.
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
There's a lot of interest. Yeah, the one we just did it was in Schreibenalp in the Swiss Alps near Breeze, the German-speaking part of Switzerland. There's a really big growing interest in plant spirit medicine there, which is fabulous. Some absolutely amazing people on that course. Like really, they want to have there's quite a few people want to train as healers from there. So we feel like it's an exciting time.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me that this is the sort of medicine that we all need. And thanks to people like you who are sort of flying the flag for it and helping to get the word out, because so much of the time it's just people knowing and understanding there's a different way, and a kinder way and a better way, isn't it?
And thank you to people like you, Sarah, who are doing what you're doing to put it out there.
Oh, well, bless you for that. And thank you to everyone watching as well who is part of this. Spread the word. Pip, Lucy, thank you so much. It's been really interesting, and good luck with the book and with everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, and to everyone watching, see you again sometime soon. Bye.